Right, so let's start with our usual prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right, so last week in Ramayan, we got to a stage where the great king Dashrathi passes away, and before he does, he narrates the story of uh, Shravan, who he kills accidentally. So just, I think I'm not sure if I mentioned this last time. Shravan actually explains briefly that he's the son of XY, so and so father, so and so mother. In that, he also explains that his father is a Vaishya, his mother is a Shudra. The reason I wanted to bring that up today was, look, back then there was no such thing as caste system. It was Varnas, and even there, despite the mother being Shudra, father being a Vaishya, the son's called a Muni. Means he's a sage, which means he's taken to spirituality. So this is how it was. It was based on your occupation that you were defined, uh, not because of your birth. Anyway, I thought I just wanted to bring that into the forefront because there's still a misconception that you are who you are born to or in the family you're born to. Anyway, uh, coming back to the story, uh, the king is dead. What are the consequences? So the ministers gather and there's a description about what they're discussing. They agree that a successor needs to be appointed. So without a successor, without a head of state, what happens? There is no one to uh, uh, report to. So when you don't have anyone to report to, people start assuming that they have a responsibility. When there is responsibility, when there's multiple shoulders having responsibility, there'll be conflicts. The security could be compromised, law and order is lost, trade and agriculture could be affected. So there's numerous layers of issues. He even goes on to the extent of saying even community spaces are affected. Community spaces where there's cultural activities, there's sporting activities, all those sorts of things. Those spaces are also affected. Yajnas are affected because people are not going to be able to do the rituals because you have it's like becomes like the jungle where the mightiest rules. It becomes like that. The social life is affected. People are not able to go on the streets as they would. Young girls, he's specifically talking about young girls who will not be able to go out at night freely. So there was so much security for women back then. And even women and young couples. Uh, there's a description about a chariot taking young couples on the going on the streets just for a joyride. All these things cannot happen if there is no head of state. So this is a discussion they are having, and then Vashishta comes in and advises, "Look, we need Bharatha appointed as a king as soon as possible." So what they do is they send messengers. There's about 5 messengers they send with a lot of gifts to Kaikeya. Now Bharata and Shatrughna, they're at their maternal grandfather's house, maternal uncle and grandfather. So uh, they are there, and it takes a few days for the messengers to reach. The night these messengers reach there, Bharata has a dream, and I'm not going to go into the details. It's quite gory. Uh, it describes about uh, Dasharatha being in a pit with cow dung and other things. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but it is quite a bad dream. Bharata wakes up with that dream in the morning, and what happens is the messengers come. they immediately tell Bharatha, look, they don't disclose that their father is dead. They just tell him, you are needed urgently at Ayodhya. Everyone that you care about is well, but you are needed immediately at Ayodhya. Bharata just assumes it's probably coronation of uh, uh, Rama as a crown prince, and that is why this they're being invited in a hurry. And Bharata immediately leaves with a contingent. Uh, the king, his grandfather, gives him a lot of gifts to go to Ayodhya, elephants, and well, there's a lot of description there. Anyway, now it's a 7-night journey. Closer to the end, Bharata can't wait. So he leaves the contingent behind and he leaves ahead of them. When he enters the city, he sees it's quite gloomy and he's not sure what's going on. He goes immediately to his father's palace, but he does not find Dasharatha there. So what he does is he goes to his mother's, Kaikeyi's chambers. And there she sees him. She's very happy to see him. She just jumps out of the bed where she's sitting and goes and hugs him and starts asking how how her brother and her father are doing. That's Bharata's uncle and grandfather are doing. And he says, "Oh, everyone's well," and he briefs her on everyone over there. So then Bharata asks, "Oh, where is father?" Then she very diplomatically says, "Look, your father passed away. Just like all living beings have an end, your father also passed away the same way." And she leaves it at that. She doesn't go and explain anything. Then he asks, "Okay, where's Rama?" He's asking about his brother. Where's my brother? Kaikeyi then tells him everything that happened. And she's very proud about it. The way she's explaining, she's very proud about what she's done for him. Okay. And she's telling him, "This is what I've done for you." Bharata is shocked. And he's very angry. Very, very angry. And uh, and when she finishes, he actually starts talking. He calls her greedy. He says, "You have destroyed what we have, okay, because of your greed." He asks her how she could do something like that, to people who have done no wrong to her. He calls her evil. He calls her cruel. He calls her Rakshasi. And he says, "I'm disowning you," in no uncertain terms. He says, "You are like my enemy now." He tells you, "You're my enemy. I cannot be here even one more moment. I'm leaving." So he declares that he's going to bring Rama back and he leaves. The ministers over there realize that he's back. So they come to meet him about the time he's about to leave. And they tell him, "Look, glad you are here. Now we need to crown you. We also need to complete the last rites of your father." So when they tell him that we need to crown you as the next king, Bharata immediately says no. He feels really guilty. He thinks that everyone around him is thinking that he's a part of the plan. Him and his mother. So he immediately starts distancing himself from his mother. He says, "This was all my mother's evil plans. I have nothing to do with this. I've never desired the uh, uh, throne, and I will not be the king. It is Rama's, and it is his rightful place to be, not mine." So then he needs to face Kausalya because he wants to see how she's doing. He wants to apologize to her. So he immediately goes there. He goes there with Shatrughna. By now, Shatrughna is also arrived. So he goes to Kausalya. When he goes to see Kausalya, she immediately hugs him and says, "Okay, you've got what you wanted. You are now the king. Okay, uh, you've got all the forces under you. You got everything you wanted, and I congratulate you. But Rama, why did Rama have to go into the forest? That's the question she's asking him. And then she breaks down and she said, "Look, can you do me a favor? Can you send me to where Rama is? I would like to go and live with my Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana." So that's what she tells. And immediately Bharata breaks down. He falls down on his knees at her feet and he explains himself. He tells, "This was none of my doing. I did not even know all of this had happened till I got here." Okay. I uh, I don't know how to explain myself, but whoever is sent, this is how he's without naming Kaikai, he's uh, comparing Kaikai to a lot of the criminals in the kingdom. So and so criminal needs to be punished like this. So he's then telling this person who sent Rama also should be done, should be dealt in this manner, and so on. And there's a number of verses that describe his contempt for his mom. A couple of things I found interesting was even back then they were collecting taxes, and he says a king who collects taxes, okay, and he's mentioning the amount of tax. It's 1/6 of the tax of the income or the grains the farmer earns or the trader makes. 1/6 of that needs to come to the treasury. If the king does not provide security, he is not worthy of being a king. So there's descriptions like that. Then it's a crime even to pollute water. So he brings up that too. So he says drinking water should not be polluted, and this a criminal. It's a criminal offense. So he says Kaikai, indirectly he's saying Kaikai should be punished like that. So there's a number of verses like that. Kaushalya is now convinced. Then she hugs him and she's happy and she tells him, "I'm so proud of you. You are following the path of Dharma." He tells, "I'm going to bring Rama back." And she's now convinced, she's comfortable. Next, what happens? Where are we? 8:15. I think I'll stop here because then it's a funeral and what happens after the funeral. So I'll stop here and we can go on to the Bhagavad Gita. All right, so we concluded chapter 5 last week, Karma, Jnana, so Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And we are back, we are on the 6th chapter and it's titled Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana is meditation. Can I ask you guys, in your own words, what do you understand meditation to be? Just want a brief understanding.
To focus on something and only focus on that. If you get a distraction, get off it and back on to where you're focusing on.
Okay, good one. Anyone else? Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into the verses directly, and the reason for that is I want to bring in something from outside of the Bhagavad Gita and kind of match it with what's happening with Bhagavad Gita at the same time. You guys have explained to you the Shat Darshana at one stage. Sage, you've noted this, I think, in your essay last year. Do you remember what that is, the Shat Darshana or the 6 darshans?
I don't think I noted the 6 darshans in mine.
Okay. I'm sure I read it in your essay anyway, but I'll come to that. Anyone else remember the 6 philosophies that derive from?
Yeah. I have those. Yeah,
Derive from philosophy.
I have.
You have noted that, yeah. Anyone else remembers that? No. Okay. So just briefly, the Shat Darshanas, they are by different philosophers in ancient times. So there's Nyaya. which is based on logic and the Vedas. Then there's Vaisheshika. It takes a step further and adds science to it. Then there's Sankhya. Sankhya looks at the universe in a unique way. It talks about Purusha and Prakriti. So this is dualistic nature of the universe and everything that's around us. So it talks about Purusha, which is what we describe as Brahman in our classes. Prakriti is the physical nature. So from Prakriti, you get the Triguna, which is the three gunas, and then everything else, the Panchabhutas, Panchakarmendriyas, and all of that come. So there's 24 elements, and that is why it is called Sankhya, because there's a number to it. So that's Sankhya Yoga. Then there's Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Then there's Mimamsa, which uses the Aranyakas or the explanation of how rituals are conducted in the Vedas. So that's the Mimamsa. And then comes the Vedanta. Vedanta looks at the Upanishads and then explains the concepts based on those Upanishads. So these are the 6 different philosophies that come out of the Vedas. Again, within Vedanta, there's different groups. They interpret the Vedas a little differently. But what I want to focus on is Yoga Sutras, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So Yoga Sutras, while it is called a darshana, it is like a step-by-step process to reaching Kaivalya. So Kaivalya is kind of a counterpart to moksha. So when we are talking in terms of Vedanta, we call it moksha. In Sankhya and in Yoga, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, it is Kaivalya. So the Yoga Sutras, there's 4 padas made out of 196 verses. The 4 padas, they start off with Samadhi, Sadhana, Vibhuti, and Kaivalya. So the first one is Samadhi. It's state of mind where your concentration that we're talking about. But it is more than that. There's a distinction between a Sampragyata Samadhi and Sampragyata Samadhi. I won't go into too much details here because it's only going to get confusing. We'll do this course at another stage if everyone is happy with it. Basically, it's saying you're meditating using an object, and a Sampragyata is where you're not using any object. So imagine all of us, we go to bed. We have dreams, and then once we go past that stage, we all go into a deep state where neither are we physically active, neither is our mind dreaming or doing anything. So that stage is that asampragyata samadhi state, and we can do it in through Patanjali's Yoga Sutras in an awakened state. So it's just giving you an idea of what it is. How do we get there? There's 8 steps to it. And he says everyone can do it, but they have to follow these 8 steps religiously. So the first one is yama. Yama is basically restraints. Restraints, what sort of restraints? You follow ahimsa. Ahimsa means don't be violent. Satya, always be truth. Don't say lies. Don't speak the lies. So always speak the truth. Asteya is not, don't steal. Restrain yourself from stealing. Brahmacharya, you want to be spiritually inclined. All right, you don't want to be somebody who's always materially inclined. So that's what he's saying. Restrain your materialistic nature. Take how much you can, how much you need, not how much you want from nature. Aparigraha, you're restraining your desires. Okay, so these are yama. Then comes niyama. Niyama is there's some observances, something you need to observe, or some rules you want to follow. Saucha, you want to always follow saucha, which is cleanliness. Santosha, be content. Don't be overly exerted. I think you're starting to see now a resemblance with what we've learned in the Bhagavad Gita. Tapas, he's even in chapter 3 and 4, we discussed a little bit about tapas. somebody who's practicing austerities, someone who's trying to get to spirituality. Swadhyaya, study of the self. That is what we are doing. Study of the self is what we are talking about, the Brahman, Atman. That is what. So now we are leaning towards Bhagavad Gita, what we are doing there. Ishwar Pranidhana. So this is where we are leaning towards understanding Ishvara himself. Okay. The next one is, once we have gone through that self-studies bit, some observances, then there these two steps, yama and niyama, they remove some of the mental restraints. Okay, the mental and physical restraints that usually bind us. When this happens, you are able to sit and meditate. That is the only way to do it. So he's telling, first remove the physical and mental barriers, then you can sit and meditate. So for that, asana is only 3 verses I think in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, just 3 verses. So find a comfortable position, sit down to start your meditation. This asanas is later on taken, and it's expanded upon by other rishis, where you have the modern day hatha yoga and all that we understand. Anyway, coming down to the next step, which is pranayama. Once you're now comfortable, start breathing, start focusing on your breathing. Okay, we discussed this in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. How much you breathe in, you breathe out that much. We're talking about a balance in your breathing. Once you have that balance in your breathing, you go into a dharana state, where you start withdrawing all your senses. Pratyahara, where you start withdrawing all your senses, all the external senses. And we discussed this one also in Bhagavad Gita. Dharana. Next was you're starting to focus on yourself from the inside. This one also we've discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. Then you start your meditation. This is where we are coming into chapter 6. Dhyana, where you are focused, where you're concentrating on just one focal point. And the next step is Samadhi, which I explained at the very beginning.